Darwin Sujiman BN, your freelance newsreader. Top story number 1. Joe Biden. Indeed, Mr. Biden's action in the 11 and a half months since October 7 Hamas slaughter of 1,200 Israelis have followed a depressingly familiar pattern. Mr. Biden provides Israel with whatever weapons and international support it needs. Mr. Netanyahu duly ignores the US president's effort to broker a ceasefire or modify the Israel Defense Force military tactic. A growing number of US allies, led by Poland and Britain, are urging Mr. Biden to give Ukraine permission to use Western supplied artillery to strike inside Russian territory. But Mr. Biden is terrified this would cross Mr. Putin's nuclear red lines. As a result, Ukraine is fighting a war against the world's second largest military at severe handicap. In another era, Mr. Biden might have the luxury of taking a long bow as he exits the stage, but the Middle East is on the brink of war, and Ukraine is heading into a dangerous winter. Ms. Harris' election prospect and his own legacy are in jeopardy. Most political careers end not with a bang but a whimper. To borrow from T.S. Eliot, if war breaks out in the Middle East and Trump wins, Mr. Biden's story half a century in US public life will end with both a bang and a whimper. That is surely not the legacy he wants. Top story number 2. Prabowo next step. The presidency of Mr. Joko Widodo, popularly known as Jokowi, has been characterized by a pragmatic approach that prioritizes economic development and investment attraction over strict adherence to democratic ideals. This is exemplified by his administration ability to swiftly modify regulation to appease investors, often bypassing lengthy deliberate process. Yet framing this approach simply as democratic backsliding missed the historical context and its appeal to many Indonesians who prioritize tangible development over abstract democratic ideas as reflected in Mr. Widodo's high approval rating. While this approach has faced criticism for potentially weakening the democratic institution, it has played a notable role in advancing Indonesia's economic objectives, especially in strategic sectors such as renewable energy. However, reliance on state-driven development strategies could stifle innovation and competition in the long run. While this model has enabled rapid decision-making and policy implementation, it may also create a rigid economic structure that is less adaptable to global market changes. As Mr. Prabowo takes office, the choices he makes in the coming years will determine whether Indonesia can achieve a sustainable balance between authoritarian pragmatism and the demand of modern competitive economy. Top story number 3. Shigeru Ishiba. While 9 lawmakers are contesting the race to become the country's next leader, the field has narrowed to just 3: conservative Sanae Takaichi, the self-proclaimed heir to Abenomics; political science Shinjiro Koizumi, dashing but inexperienced; and popular maverick Shigeru Ishiba, making his 5th and final bid for power. Starting with Ms. Takaichi, Economic Security Minister and acolyte of easy money policies known as Abenomics. She is also a supporter of that wing's hawkish foreign policies, representing her biggest risk. Mr. Koizumi called for labor reforms to make it easier to fire workers, a necessary change but one which lets opponents paint him as being in the pocket of big business. Mr. Ishiba's economic arguments also raise questions on his best day. I struggle to reconcile some of his reasoning, such as making the end of inflation his top priority, while simultaneously calling for Bank of Japan rate hikes to bring prices down. The lack of economic vision is not just limited to Mr. Ishiba. While each of 3 represents a different strand of traditional LDP economic thinking, the neoliberal Mr. Koizumi, who sees growth prompted by sweeping reforms, the spend-heavy Ms. Takaichi, who favors a return to easing, and the fiscally cautious Mr. Ishiba, their plans lack substance. Top story number 4. Asia's middle power. The room for so-called middle power has grown in international arena, so much so that some believe this middle power which will be the architect of new world order. Even though their increasingly proactive diplomacy is now largely uncoordinated. Take for example Singapore. It has been a location of choice for convening meetings between adversaries, including the landmark US-North Korea summit in 2018. As the host of yearly Shangri-La Dialogue, arguably the most important defense and diplomacy gathering in Asia Pacific. Japan's leadership in supporting Southeast Asia's and more broadly so-called Global South pursuit of artificial intelligence inclusive governance is an example of its contribution to tech standard setting. Active middle powers are dissimilar in many respects, have distinct national interests, and even sometimes bet on different strategic choices. But in Asia in particular, the ones identified above share a common desire to live and prosper in a peaceful, stable, and less risky environment. Their effort would be better served by closer cooperation and coordination among them, in order to collectively act as stabilizing force for a more predictable shared environment. Top story number 5. Dementia. Dementia is a condition that robs individuals their cognitive function, eroding over time their personality and changing their behavior. Persons living with dementia face complex care and medical needs that warrant carefully considered decisions. When confronted with such decisions, these people are assessed on their mental capacity to make informed choices. Otherwise, healthcare professional, donors, or legal guardian will act in their best interest. Research and practice both reveal that the application of conventional four-step mental capacities tests, understanding, recalling, waking, and communicating, may be liable to bias and subjectivity, especially in borderline cases. This unique form of grief experienced while the loved one is still alive is known as pre-death grief. It is a complex emotional journey for caregivers and can be as challenging as mourning for the physical loss of a person, warranting attention and compassion. We speculated that caregivers of pre-death grief reduce their ability to cope with older adults' deteriorating condition at home, and possibly leads them to seek more hospital-based care, including life-prolonging treatment. Caregivers themselves should recognize their emotions as grief and seek ways to honor and preserve the remaining connection with their loved one and celebrate the life that remains. Persons living with dementia still experience emotions and can interact with others, even if their cognitive ability dwindles. Those around them should empower them to live with dignity that comes with freedom. Darwin Sugiman BN sign off, your freelance newsreader.